Here is the devil. That's Daniel Webster. It's the devil and Daniel Webster and Jabez Stone. Hello there, Nate Jackson, Criterion Collection Reviewer Guy here with number 214, William Dieterles, the Devil and Daniel Webster, aka All That Money Can Buy. Apparently, this film was originally called All That Money Can Buy when it was released because there was a movie out called The Devil and Miss Jones at the same time, which I think I've heard of. So I guess they coincided with each other, and so they just called it All That Money Can Buy because the two movies starring the devil was blasphemy enough, I guess. So yeah, but when they reissued it, they returned it to The Devil and Daniel Webster, which I guess is the name of the original play, or the short story that this is based on. Sure, it's based on a short story by Stephen Vincent Benet, and if you really want to go back, the play is based on the classic Gothic opera Faust, where a young man signs a deal with the devil, not realizing that he has sold his very soul over to the devil and all that. I've had the chance to see it, and it's a fantastic opera, and I recommend it. But if you can't get to the opera and you can't find your black tux, check this out. This is a nice little adaptation. 1941, 106 minutes, black and white, blah blah blah. So, Jabez Stone, he is a farmer. He's got kind of down on his luck. He lives with his wife Mary and his mother, and his crops are dying, and his wife breaks her back and all that. So he's freaking out, and he's kind of down, and I guess the spinster lawyer is gonna try and sue him for wanting to, they're gonna foreclose on their farm, and they're freaking out. But along comes a man named Mr. Scratch, who basically has a plan for Jabez, and his plan is to basically give him a pot of, I forget what kind of money. It's like he buries this. He makes this pot of gold magically appear in his barn, and all Jabez has to do is sign a little document. Just sign a little document. Sign a little piece of paper right there. Put your name right there. And this means that I own for the next 7 years. Mr. Scratch owns Jabez's soul, and they make it official on a tree because that's how most lawyers do their business. They carve the date on the tree, and that's their document. So April 7th, 1847 is what's written on the tree. So, Jabez is ecstatic. He takes the money, pays off his debts, goes to the store, buys his family, clothes and all that, and at the same time, not realizing that the devil's in the details, for a term, to coin a phrase. Meanwhile, while all this is happening, a man named Daniel Webster, who is rooting to be the president of the United States, is making the rounds in the different counties, and he comes to New Hampshire, where they live, and he wants to. And Jabez Stone, strikes up a friendship with Daniel Webster, and they get along well, and he vows to, he ends up naming his son, which Mary eventually has, after Daniel, and Daniel becomes the god uncle or godfather or whatever. Meanwhile, while this is happening, of course, Mr. Scratch is working his magic. The money, apparently, Mr. Scratch is also tempting Daniel Webster to side with him so that he can automatically become president of the United States, because Mr. Scratch has a plan for Daniel Webster as well. But Daniel ain't hearing that. He just says, "Get out of my face," That's all he says. It's in the script. Just watch the movie. You'll hear it. He actually says, "Get out of my face." But anyway, Jabez begins to change. The money that he gets, he begins to, become a little less nice to the poor. His friends, he kind of shuns them. The maid that they hired to help them around the house is replaced with a young, voluptuous woman named Belle, who Mr. Scratch hired and had her switched out. She seduces Jabez, and Jabez begins to forget about Mary. He ends up eventually, over the years, he ends up building a mansion where he and Belle live. Mary is barely invited. Ma refuses to set foot in the house. He throws, dances and gambling parties and just kind of forgets everything. And it isn't until he realizes, it isn't until Daniel Webster comes in and realizes, hey, dude, I know this dude. I knew this Scratch dude. Come on. You got to get out of this. He's like, oh, Jabez is like, oh, come on, Dan, get your head in the game. But it isn't until the lawyer dies, after dancing with Belle, that he says, oh, crap, something's weird. I think I better, tell Scratch it's off. But Scratch is like, no, 7 years. Dude, it ain't time. Your time ain't up yet. You got like 1 more year. And I'm like, no, this is it. So he tries to cut down the tree, and he's like, no, this ain't happening, no. So he calls on Daniel, and Daniel says, dude, I need your help, because we can't do this. I can't do this alone. I gotta get this dude. So Daniel sets up a trial. Daniel and Scratch set up a trial for Jabez for, I guess, breaking the rules or something. And the jury that Mr. Scratch pulls out are all these Americans, a lot of famous figures in America who did bad for the country, and therefore apparently were possessed by the devil, who were controlled by the devil. So they come in, they basically shun every point that Mr. Webster says on behalf of Jabez. And I guess the judge, I forget his name, John something or other. He was one of the judges on part of the Salem witch trials. So it's all very evil side. However, Daniel Webster, being Daniel Webster, makes this passionate speech for America and tries to remind the jury, what America's about, and trying to pleading with them to free him. And at the end, he wins. They tear up the treaty or the contract or whatever, and Mr. Scratch is defeated. However, he now vows to Daniel that he will never become president of the United States, and obviously he didn't. So that brings up a good point. Was the devil really in? Does the devil really play into political elections and all that? It's an interesting point, but anyway, that's basically Devil and Daniel Webster. And I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad film. Not bad. I enjoy the Faust. The story of Faust so much that I love seeing adaptations of it, and this is a very fantastic adaptation. Who's it? Walter Huston, who played the devil, is very, very creepy at times, and he's even creepier in this bonus features. I'll tell you in a second. And the direction is fantastic. The camera work is beautiful, and yeah, it's a great adaptation. And yeah, that's all we'll say about it. So the movie, let's give it a rating. We'll give it an A minus. I'll give it an A minus. It went on just a smidgen too long. Apparently they cut out a whole half hour. I wouldn't cut that much out. I'd cut I don't know, I think there was probably 10-15 minutes you could cut out of this film. Maybe not a whole half hour. But there's a couple of bits that were probably a little extraneous. But yeah, that's just my opinion, but still, as it is, it's still a really good film. So I'd recommend it. A minus, not bad. Probably right now it's in the top 28, but then again, we haven't even seen 28 films, but anyway. So that's the film. Supplements. Plenty of supplements. Under a listing that says Scratch's Black Book. First of all, there is a reading of the original story. Read by Alec Baldwin. And reading the story, I just there's a lot of basically the story of Jabez is a lot more emphasized in the film. It's more, basically the film is the story is more about just Jabez and Webster and Daniel Webster going against the devil and all that. So that's basically all he does. And yeah, it's more about just Daniel Webster being the man, you know. Jabez is not, you know, Jabez is kind of this, you know, side character who he really relies on Daniel. That's how I took it to be. Then there are two adaptations. I guess Benet wrote two other stories about Daniel Webster. One of them was called Daniel Webster and the Sea Serpent, where Daniel hears like I don't know, Daniel like talks to this sea serpent named Samantha and she becomes this part of the U.S. Army, Navy. I don't know. It doesn't help. It doesn't help that the radio dramatizations of The Devil and Daniel Webster and Daniel Webster and the Sea Serpent are in really bad quality. So it was hard to hear. It's hard to tell what they were saying half the time, but got the gist of it. You know, it's still kind of interesting. But I think the ultimate is this film, so I give it to that. Oh, and here's probably the creepy. I was telling you about how creepy Walter Huston is as the devil, but here he is. So there was a preview version of the Devil and Daniel Webster called "Here's a Man." I guess it was like they were shown to like critics and all that. But when they released it, they were going to call it The Devil and Daniel Webster, but you know, all that, and then they changed it all to Mike and Buy. But originally it was called "Here's a Man," and they showed it, and there were a couple of little bits that were cut out, little stylistic changes that were cut at the beginning of the film to show the devil in the details again. And you see these changes, and it's pretty eye-opening. I mean, I was creeped the hell out. I was like, holy crap. For 1941, it was pretty creepy. Basically, in the beginning, you see, you know, Mary fall, and there's a fox that Jabez chases and tries to shoot at, misses him, and the pig breaks his leg. And and every time all these bad luck happens, we see a millisecond shot of the devil, of a close up of his face in negative light, and it's nerve wracking. It's like, holy shit. And you see it for you know, and it's very, very creepy, very, very creepy. And yeah, it's pretty nerve wracking. So yeah, that was a treat to see that. And then the only other big thing, there's a gallery of photos, and then there's a little essay talking about the music. Bernard Herrmann, who did the music for that, as well as the radio adaptations. He did the music for those as well. And it shows, you know, talks about his cues, and it has a little like the movie synced up and all that. So it's pretty neat. And yeah, that's about it. So Devil and Daniel Webster, A-, not a bad film. In fact, I think it might be our best yet. So maybe there's hope yet. Maybe there's hope for Criterion. But then again, we do have Knife in the Wall. We do have Roman Polanski next, so we may be right back to the crap fest. I mean, I don't know about Roman Polanski. I mean, all I know is what he's done in his spare time, and we're not going to try and think about that. You know, we have to look at it. We have to just look at the film. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, this will be interesting. So this will be on Saturday, and then of course next week, you know, it's next week. We got Rules in the Game. We got Tokyo Story, Massacre Rouge, and La Strada. And so yes, and then we got Naked Line Shikiru, and you know. So anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Don't let the devil make you dance with the Undertaker. That's a Prince song. You haven't heard it. But anyway, yes. Don't sign a deal with the devil. Don't sign deals for money, you know. And yeah, that's the best. That's the best one. Don't mess with the devil, because he key you, or at least make your life really fucked up. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on Saturday for Knife in the Water. Until then,